All right. Hello, everybody out there. Can you guys see us? Yes. Can you guys see us? Good.
Both of you?
Both of you. I'm Kevin O'Connor.
I'm Roger Cook.
Richard Trethewey.
And that, ladies and
Tom
gentlemen,
Silva.
is Tom
Grandpa.
Silva. So welcome to our first Facebook Live Insider. This is something new for us here. People who eventually become insiders are going to have a whole host of benefits, a lot of great things. You get all of the archives that we've got out there right now, which is 24 seasons of This Old House, so you can watch it when these guys were young.
We're some of the better hosts.
Ouch.
Were you even born? Were you even born?
Ooh.
Were you even born?
90 seconds. It started at 90 seconds. Unbelievable. We just erased your season.
He started it. I didn't.
Okay,
You'll
how far
finish it.
behind?
You'll finish it.
I'll make up.
24 seasons of This Old House online. Insiders can watch all of them. All of the seasons of Ask This Old House, which is 15. That's something like almost 400 episodes. Every article we've ever written for the magazine going back 22 years. You can have access to that archive if you become an insider. And I don't know if it's most important or up there. You get to ask these guys questions. Anything you want coming up.
About your house.
Anything we can't answer, Kevin will.
Yeah, I'll make something up.
Yeah.
This one is open to the public. Everyone throw your questions in there. Eventually, insiders will have access to this brain trust right here. And anyone who signs up, oh my gosh, it's gone. Oh, here it is. Look. Tommy, right off the back of Mr. Silva. People who sign up get a Silver Brothers t-shirt.
I watched it.
Not enough. Anyway. We'll be back with these things, I don't know what, monthly? And so if you're an insider, you'll be invited back. But for right now, anybody, it is fair game.
Welcome.
Welcome. Glad to be here. So we've got some questions. Let me start with Jennifer has written in. Hello, Jennifer, if you're out there. All right, listen up, boys. This is what she writes. First off, let me begin by saying we love the show.
You have good taste, Jennifer.
Jennifer, strong star. Even their 4-year-old says, "Are we watching TOH?" We'll love that. So she has a question, which she admits is more of a wish. We'd love to see you guys work in the Northeast. Would you ever consider coming to Ohio to work on an 1840s farmhouse that we are, as of last summer, the 6th generation of the McCrearys?
Wow.
To reside there. Well, that's
Wow.
impressive. They would
Very
love their expertise in craftsmanship, our expertise in craftsmanship. And so would you guys ever consider it? What do you think?
I would.
No, she didn't say what the projects are, though.
She just wants you.
Well, the thing
She just wants you guys to come to their house.
our TV show Ask This Old House is the one where we've gone now. We just finished our 50th state. We've been to Cleveland. We've been to Cincinnati in Ohio. And if it was a small project, we could do something like that. I don't think we're going to rebuild the McQuarrie place. Our This Old House project is generally done in the Boston area from June to December, June to January. And then
April, March.
April. That's
not till March. No, and our second project is always January to March, so we're not sure we're coming to Ohio.
You making up these dates?
Anything close, you know. Tell me, when do we do it?
We start in April. We finish
I didn't
just
show up
around
until
Christmas.
June, that's right.
Yeah, right around Christmas we finish up.
That's what I said, that's December.
What else you got?
I guess the answer is that we think it's pretty cool that you're the 6th generation in that house.
Absolutely, I think that's great. I would love to see the house.
Thank you for writing in. What projects will you guys be working on in 2017? Catherine writes. So the upcoming year, what have we got planned? It's funny, we just got out of a 3-hour production meeting.
And we still don't know.
Is that what that was? We were actually looking for a house this year. Our maid project is going to be one that we buy and hopefully turn around and sell it for a profit. Why don't you explain what's going on?
Well, we can all explain what's going on, but we are we're going to sell for a profit so that we can make a donation to a scholarship foundation. Mike Rowe Works has done a great job explaining the problem about the skills gap that exists in this country. These guys can talk to that, but ultimately we're going to be raising awareness and raising funds to give scholarships to young people who want to get into the trades to help close that gap. We're going to tell that story with this house that Tommy mentioned, and raise some money for it too. Getting these people into the trades is critical.
Yeah. Right.
You ask any contractor what his biggest thing, it's not finding work, it's finding people to do the work.
Exactly.
Imagine that, right?
Trained, preferably.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I like to always hire people that are young. We've taken some kids out of the Voc schools and stuff like that. If you get these kids young, you can really train them the way we like to do it. And not necessarily our way is the only way, but it's a training that you can go through the process and hopefully learn the techniques the right way.
We'd like to show a new path. You know, historically, since the late 60s, it's always been you got to try and get a college degree, liberal arts path typically. I just saw a statistic, Tommy and I, just before we went on, only about 40% of the kids that go to college don't graduate.
Don't even
so they've
graduate.
gone off and gotten into debt. You know, they chose that path that might not have been the right one for them. And yet, we've got all these skilled trades. I mean, many of the skilled contractors in this country are all of a certain age, 50 and 60 years old. The Voc Tech schools have not been fully utilized for 40, 50 years. It's a story we've been talking about and paying attention to for years. And we're so excited and psyched to join with Mike Rowe, because he's telling it to a broader audience, and I think the combination would be really powerful to put that. We'd like to get to guidance counselors actually and say, hey, you know, there's another choice between saying to this kid, you got to go off for 25 to 50 grand a year for potentially. Mike's great quote was, for degrees they can't afford, will never get. For jobs that don't exist.
For jobs that don't exist.
And give them money that they can't pay back.
That's right.
And you know what? A lot of these kids are talented with their hands. They don't like to sit in front of a computer all day. I know I certainly don't. And they can take pride in what they're doing. And we just want to teach them the right skill and get it out of them, their knowledge that some of them don't even know they have.
You'll hear plenty about it.
It's a good partnership, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's a good dude. He's a funny guy.
Yeah, he's a funny guy.
Storyteller.
Oh my
And
gosh,
gosh,
and
yeah.
voice too. So you will hear a lot about that. That's the big thing for the upcoming season on This Old House. Ask This Old House. Right back at it. We were just talking about places that we need to go, projects that we need to do. I think there was a consensus that we need to do a lot of outdoor projects. There were some cool ideas about, hey, should we do a ultimate basement remodel or an over the garage remodel?
Outside kitchen.
Outside barbecue kitchen.
Yeah. And to that, I would just say, keep in mind that so many of these projects that we do come from folks like you who write in and say, please come to my house. So send us a good ideas. We're always looking for
Tell me
good
about a
ideas.
project that you've got in mind. Maybe we'll come visit you.
Yeah.
We'll look at the emails from the insiders first.
Absolutely.
So let's see. If you're just joining us, this is Facebook Live for insiders, This Old House insiders. This one's open to the public. Eventually, we're going to do these maybe monthly for folks who become an insider. And becoming an insider gets you a whole bunch of things. It gets you access to all the great archives, 25 years of This Old House, 15 seasons of Ask This Old House, all the magazine articles, the shirt right off of Mr. Silver's back, washed and pressed.
Not this
A
one.
lot of stuff.
No, not that one, Tommy.
Next question. She, S-H-I, she. Kevin, being surrounded by so much amazing talent on a regular basis. Did you guys write
I
this?
just wrote that.
You
Are
got
you
that
she?
right.
I just
I like her already.
Being surrounded by so much amazing talent on a regular, you must have picked up a lot of tips and tricks. Is there one that really stands out from you for the last 15 years? I have not been listening.
Don't worry, we've noticed.
My job is to be the knucklehead and ask the questions, and if I listen to anything they say, I will learn, and then I won't have anything to do.
And
So-
you are good at it.
Kevin's job is to remember the line for at least the 3 minutes that we're doing the scene, right?
Next question. I don't know how to answer it. I learned everything I know, right? I mean, you guys knew me when I first joined. I couldn't do much. I was willing, but I couldn't do much, and I've learned some stuff along the way. And I'm upset on
Didn't you
that.
do an apprentice thing when you first started? And I
Boot
remember
camp.
you
We called it
breaking
boot
a
camp.
piece of bluestone too, didn't you?
Boot camp. They put me through boot camp. I had to spend a couple days working next to each one of these guys. You had a busted
I think
foot pop.
I had a broken heel.
Put
Yeah.
you into
Broken
a
heel.
bad poo-poo pipe.
You stuck me at the bottom of an ancient house that
That's
hasn't
great.
been cleaned out, nasty, and then maybe
Yeah.
dig into the
Yeah,
pipe. You digging holes, moving
yeah.
concrete.
Penicillin was good for them.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, all right.
You're still alive. You're still alive. You're still here.
We're going to do a bunch of these. The next Insider one is actually going to be next Thursday. It's you two? You two, yes. They're just finding out.
I guess
Next
so.
Thursday
Let me
at
check
9
my
a.m.
calendar.
Is that
You
true?
will have unfettered
That is
access
true.
to these
Oh.
guys.
Check
Right
the
here.
email once in a while.
All right.
Did everybody else step back?
Cole and Molly, they both want advice on how to hire a good craftsman with a laundry list of projects. Is it better to hire a general contractor, or should they be hiring a different tradesman for each job?
Different tradesmen for each job gets kind of complicated on whose scope everything falls under. That's why the general contractor is so important.
Well, a general contractor that has, usually has his local or regular subs that do the type of work that you may be looking for. Like, for example, my company has the same plumbers that we use, the same painters that we use, same electrician that we use, because we know their work, they know what we demand, and we know that they're qualified to do the work right. And finding the right people is hard.
I'll say this. On our show, I think we've celebrated the skills of a general contractor. The general contractor is an underappreciated skill set. It's like being an orchestra leader. You make sure everybody plays from the same sheet music. You make sure the project gets begun, middle, and finished on time correctly. You make people accountable. You can get people to come when you're supposed to come. If you are calling one local sheetrocker and you're a homeowner, you've got very little leverage to get him to come on anything but his time, where a general contractor has some real or implied leverage to get the contractor to show up when he has to be there. So it is an underappreciated skill. He does it so well that it makes it look easy. But it is, it's why we've been able to do all these years with every job coming in on time to finish this,
Well,
satisfy this TV schedule, which is crazy.
We get the
it done.
response from the subs because the sub knows that
Yeah.
one job's going to be another job, leads to another job, leads to another job. I may pull a sub off of one job to do this whole house, but later he goes back to another job that we have
Right.
going. So he's working continuously. He doesn't have to think about
Right.
the next homeowner that's going to call him.
I think that's a
Yeah.
universal get a good contractor as opposed. I couldn't afford these guys.
Yeah.
I tried.
That's
They
because
wouldn't
it's cheap.
come. No, but I remember the GC walking around, we were trying to scope the whole thing out. We had an electrical panel that we thought was going to have to be moved, and the electrician said, yeah, the price is probably going to be this, and we'll put it there. And the GC immediately jumped in and said, whoa, hang on a second, let's look at other solutions. And he was asking questions that I didn't even know to ask.
That's right.
And he's kind of in your corner if he's a good general contractor with the subs. And he wasn't beating up on his guy.
Right.
He was just like, hang on a second, I know something that you don't know that the homeowner told me, so let's push this a little harder. And that's when he was serving and earning his money.
Yeah, that's
Which
the
I didn't
name
pay
of
him.
the
'cause-
No, question.
No, you wouldn't.
You don't work with
Yeah.
him. Stop.
But that's
All
the name
right.
of the
We
game.
apologize to that general contractor, wherever you are.
He loved working for you, Connor. He loved it. Write us. If you guys are listening, send us questions in. We're taking your questions live right now. The next one comes from Bill. And Roger, this one is for you. He'd like to know the best time to seed. Yeah,
We're going to relax.
take a
later,
break.
guys.
Take a break.
Finish up the
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
What is the best time to seed his lawn and to protect it from pets?
Where is he?
Optimum time is late summer, early fall.
Now,
Because-
why not the spring?
Because you have weeds growing like crazy in the spring. If you seed in the spring, you really add a product called
2%?
2%.
2%.
Yes, and what that does is it prevents weed seeds from germinating, growing up, and it allows the grass to just grow.
Right, but a lot of the stuff that controls the weeds does not allow new grass to grow.
No, you can't. You have to have 2% or something particular for the grass. If you put down another product, any type of crabgrass killer, it'll kill the seed too.
So you're not putting that stuff down in the fall.
Right.
You're just putting down the seed and it's
Right.
going crazy?
Yep, and well, think spring. You got competition from everything growing. It's just starting to warm up. There's a little rain. Everything germinates just in time for the heat of summer, and you're trying to make these little baby seedlings and nurse them along all through the summer. So you got to water all the time and pay a water bill and all that good stuff. In the fall, the soil is warm, you have moisture, you have long days. The seed pops really quickly and gets established before the fall comes.
And cold climate just goes dormant then for the winter?
It'll lay there. Some of it will come back in the spring, some won't. That's why we like to get it all germinated. That's why the end of summer, very early of fall, it'll come right up.
I mean, literally, you can start doing this in late August, right? Don't
Yep.
just think
No,
October or
No,
whatever.
no,
right?
sometimes you're too late by then.
Sometimes you're too late. So
The other thing to remember is the right seed for the right spot. if you put a sunny blend of seed in a shady area, you're gonna get poor results, and the vice versa. So you wanna make sure that you know the area, you prep the soil well, you rototill it, you add compost, check it, add lime if it needs it, and get everything, the bed done right before you put the frosting on the top.
I love lawn.
Yeah, lawn tart.
I love lawn more than anything.
We all love
I love
lawn.
lawn.
It's
I love
great.
lawn. If I was a gazillionaire, I'd have Roger come every April and re-sod my entire
Right.
yard, so that I just have fresh sod.
Well, there's always that one.
Would you do
period.
that?
Yeah, you got much money up front?
Up front.
There's that one period every fall where the weeds have died, the lawn's been fertilized, and it looks just perfect, and you drive around different neighborhoods and stuff, and it's just near where you live in the big houses out there where they have the blue.
The mansions, the mansions.
Okay, we know how this is going.
There's that one period where everything just looks perfect. You just want to run out and lay down and hit a golf ball.
If it could only stay that way. If it could only
All
stay
right,
that way.
fall it is. Pete wrote us, fellas, he'd like to know the worst problem we've ever encountered on this old house. The worst problem. It's probably going to be different for all of us,
I gotta think about that.
right? I will tell you the worst house that I think we ever worked on, and I didn't work on them all, but I remember when we were in Roxbury, which is a neighborhood of Boston, and we were working on a house that had been, the bank took it from the owners because they had
Yeah.
abandoned it, and then the city took it from the bank. I don't know how the bank loses it, but the city took it from the bank, it was abandoned, and there was holes in the roof, and it was, the water had been coming through, and it
Foundation
rotted
was
all the
all
way down.
bellying out.
Yeah.
And I didn't really, I knew it was bad, but I remember walking down the sidewalk with Norm. We had now been into it for a week or two. We stripped back 4 layers of siding, and we were walking down the sidewalk, and Norm put his hand over his microphone and turned to me and said, "We should have blown it up."
With a Stinger missile is his exact line.
I don't know if it qualifies as a house, but the barn in Carlisle, that was probably the worst element I've ever seen. You had to jack it up and replace all the sills and everything else on it.
Yeah, that was, it was about 2.5 feet too low.
Yeah.
And it was all uneven. We had to jack that up. But I think one that comes to mind for me was, I think it was the oldest house that we worked on, 1710, the Acton house. It was, it had been renovated by the homeowner. They did the attic all over it, all new plaster, everything else. But the homeowner, like a lot of homeowners, they don't want to spend their money on things that they can't see. They want to spend their money on things that they do see, like renovating the attic, making a home office and a spare bedroom. Great, they did a beautiful job. We came along to put a little addition on and renovate the house, put a new kitchen, and they wanted to do some other work in the lower part of the house. And I said to them, well, first of all, the sills all rotted in the back corner of the house, and your house is only leaning 8 inches out of level. And so I said, if we don't remove the rotted sill that's touching the part that's disintegrated, it's just going to continually rot, and eventually your house is going to end up back level again without a sill.
You're such a buzzkill. You're like the worst house guest.
So if I had jacked the house
What he did
up
was amazing.
and made it level, I would have blown out all the work in the attic, and they would have had to redo the whole thing. So the idea was, I told them I'll solve the problem. I won't fix the problem, but I'll solve the problem from the house settling even more. Stop it from happening. Your attic will be great. Your house will still be crooked. And so that was a challenge in itself, trying to hold the house, make it crooked, taper in all the siding so it doesn't look crooked. There was so many things that were affected by that 8-inch drop in the house.
He raised a Revolutionary War era house without that third floor
Yeah,
ceiling
falling
plaster
apart.
even cracking.
Yeah.
Raised
Couple
it
other
up.
things with
Unbelievable.
that job. Remember, we found lead paint.
Oh, yeah.
The kids had actually lead symptoms
Yeah.
of lead paint.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that was
Yeah,
bad.
that's right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there was a shed or a house out in the back of the property, and it had to be moved. So I believe it was you who hooked up to the sled and just took and dragged it out.
We dragged
back
it out with
a
the truck.
pickup.
Yeah, we put a sled on it. We made it. We moved it so we wouldn't have to dismantle it, and we dragged it across the lawn and put it into the same position.
What I remember about that particular project was, this was a historic house, and we bring in the scientists that are going to take paint chips and see exactly what the original paint color was, and we put it under a spectroscope and all this other stuff. We come back that it's some form of orange, and we bring it out and we paint it, and the local historian people come in and they support it, and we get it all painted. And I remember the woman owner, she said, I don't like it. Oops. I think they grew to like it.
Yeah, they did. It's still the same color.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
If you guys are watching now, you are watching a Facebook Live for This Old House Insiders, or soon-to-be Insiders. This one's open to the public, but eventually it'll be only for folks who are insiders. And you'll be able to watch the archives. You can go back to some of these projects that we're all talking about, and you could literally just click over on our website and start watching many of these episodes. That Carlisle Barn one,
That was a classic.
yeah, that's a great one to rewatch.
That poor guy, remember him? He was sweating by the time he was done, Tom. He was shaking everything because David made him put it up like six times, up and down.
for the
Yeah.
camera.
Yeah, he had just had his knee operated on the day before. They didn't know it. They kept making him go in and out of the truck, and he was in pain. But he was a good sport, never complained.
Yeah.
Oh, it worked
But-
great.
But the point was that we raised this whole barn. So here comes this house raising company with all this hydraulic stuff.
Steel
And
beams,
He's
everything.
all excited that he's going to raise it perfectly, and he gets it raised up. He climbed into the truck, but he gets it all up, and he thinks he's just done. And our
No.
director says, no, drop it.
Drop it.
And he says, what? And we drop
Bring
it,
it
and
back
it goes
down.
up and down 3 or 4 times with
Oh, no.
GoPro
It
cameras.
was at
Back then,
least-
that was the
at
first
least
time we had
6 or 8
GoPro
times, yeah.
cameras to shoot.
Yeah. Oh, it
So
was
check out all the archives. You can sign up for an insider. You can start a 30-day trial right now. If you do, you get that T-shirt right off of Tommy's back, the Silver Brothers T-shirt. You can check it out. I've become like the pitch man for this.
You are.
This is terrific,
Yeah.
right?
Be
crazy. Fantastic.
the first one on your block.
But we're going to do more of these, okay? We're going to get to as many questions as we can today. We're going to do more of these, and the next one is these two guys next Thursday, 9 a.m. Just these two right here.
Really?
You guys going to be all right by
I
yourself?
think I'm busy.
I think I'm really tied up.
And if you missed this, obviously, all this stuff is on the website. You can go there for questions, answers. Jeff wrote us. Are you guys ready for this one?
Okay.
What is the best advice you could give me? I just started my own construction company. Wow. Good for you,
Great.
Jeff. I'd love to know how old you are and where are you. But anyway, Jeff's just getting started, boys. You were all there at one point. Advice for this guy?
Don't be afraid to get your price. It's expensive to have good people. And then use that price to hire and retain good people.
Wow.
Let them make a living. Let them make a living. We believe in the tooth fairy in this country when we think we're going to get the best contractor for the lowest price. It doesn't happen. And so, just like the best doctor, the best restaurant, the best hospital, everything is going to be more money. If you're in this game and you're the best, don't run from it. Don't run from it. Don't overcharge. But it costs a lot to insure and to train and to keep good people. So that's
So
what.
are you suggesting that a lot of guys who get into this figure they're going to bid low just to get
Oh yeah, I
business?
got to get the job. I got to get the
gotta
job.
get the
Okay,
job.
and they get it, but they can only do that for a certain amount of time because they're not going to have enough money to take care of Murphy's Law, to keep good people, to pay insurance, to pay
the bills.
pay the bills. So and
you're
and
hurting
pay your
yourself.
bills and pay your bills.
Just serving yourself in the short
Right,
run, but killing
right.
yourself in the long
Yeah.
run.
You got to know how to run the business as a business too. You can't just have a pickup truck and know how to put a couple of 2x in. You got to know the business. He's a great generalist. He knows enough about everything. You got to know about the mechanical. You got to know about electrical, beyond just the carpentry and structural stuff that he knows.
And all I can say is you want to take pride in what you do, and you want to make sure you do it right. Pay attention to the things that you don't see to make the things you do see last and perform the way they're supposed to. And don't use shoddy equipment or shoddy subs.
Mine's a little different. At a certain
You
point.
shoddy equipment, you
Yeah,
shoddy
yeah. Go low. Go low.
Shoddy equipment.
That's all from here.
Sorry.
For a certain amount of time, I mean, you know what a tree is. You don't need to go to school to know what a tree is. But you should be going and taking business classes. Learn the business end of it. It'll really help you in the long run, and get a good accountant. No one can save you more money and help you pay your taxes right so that you don't get in trouble like a lot of guys do.
Yeah.
Get a good accountant to work with. And don't be afraid to ask questions of other contractors. I have a bunch of guys that I talk to all the time. We have a question. No one else might know the answer but another landscaper. And we share it, and that's a way to learn about things.
Absolutely.
I will add a shameless plug for these guys. To me, the thing that separates them from everyone else is that when we're not doing stuff like this and making that show, these guys are still running their own businesses. None of them have ever given up the day job, if you would call it that. They're all still running the businesses out there doing the landscape and the contract and the plumbing, the HVAC design and all that stuff. And for us as like people who try to produce content, it's invaluable to have you guys in the field solving these problems, never losing your edge, never stop going to the conferences in Germany to learn about it or the extension schools. It's critical. It's just absolutely.
What do you
critical.
do when you're not shooting? What do you do when you're not
Couple
shooting?
of bucks for you.
It's vacation, brother. I'm out to Hollywood with the rest of them. You wouldn't understand.
You know, I guess there's a lot of things out there, but this is this is a trade that I've always wanted to be in. And I don't ever remember a time in my life when didn't want to do what I'm doing.
Well, a couple weeks ago when we were working together, you said you didn't want to be.
Well, that's because I was working with you, and I couldn't take it anymore.
I often tell people,
just
Tommy,
like a
that
repeating
I
story.
haven't had a day that I didn't want to love.
Would somebody get Mr. Silva's medication?
You guys are just off the cuff, aren't you?
Is the IV in this camera shot? Can you see the IV drip? All right, moving on. You guys are watching the Facebook Live for TOH Insiders. Join us permanently, signing up. Going to do these regularly. The future ones will be just for insiders. This one's open to the public. We appreciate you guys' questions. Char has got one on the Arlington House project. That's the one that's on PBS right now, the one we're working on. They were hanging the kitchen cabinets, and the gentleman who we worked with, I think it was Jeff, was it Frey? I forget Jeff's last name.
Freya.
Freya.
Great guy who was hanging our kitchen cabinets for us. He
All by
says here
himself?
and there it went, disappeared. He had a lift that he was using because this is a guy who generally hangs the cabinets himself. And Char would like to know where you can find that lift. Remember what it was called?
It's the lifts. They can actually buy them in a company called around here. It's called Granger's. They sell them.
But what is it called? The Jimmy lift?
Little Ginny lift. I think. They also use them in mechanical trades for
Lifting air handlers.
Air handlers
Putting
up.
air handlers up.
So if you hadn't seen that episode, just imagine
Right.
you've got a bank of cabinets, right? And it's 36, 40 inches wide. He's got to put them up on the wall.
Right.
He generally works alone. He had me helping him out,
Yeah.
which was a little bit.
That was
working.
more of a
working.
challenge.
Okay. And so he puts it on the lift. He wheels the cabinets in, and he's able to crank it up and literally put it up against the wall. It holds it in place and could do it himself. It was
Yeah.
genius to watch
That's
this
right.
guy.
That's right.
It was really a whole different level of artistry to watch
There's a
him
few
do it
different
by himself.
manufacturers out there. I think Genie was the one he had, but there are different manufacturers out
I
there.
remember years ago I saw some guy come in and hang sheetrock by himself. And he just did the same sort of thing. He had a little teeth thing and a little thing.
Yep, drywall lift.
Drywall lift, just like go whoop, whoop, and then
Actually,
yeah. You do without it. It's like, hey, hold that.
one of my subs that hang the board for the plasters, he does it all by himself. He can do a whole house
Yeah.
in the amount of time it would take a crew of 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Look at this.
Replaced by a piece of metal.
Sarah just wrote in. She wants to know how she actually signs up, which I didn't even tell anybody. So Sarah, you can, if you want to sign up for Insider, you can go to thisoldhouse.com/learn. That's how you can actually get into the Insiders for This Old House and get yourself that T-shirt. Tommy.
Tell me,
what do you have underneath
will you
there?
wear that
What
tonight?
size is
Will you
this?
put that on?
I think that's too big for me.
Too big for me.
Are you a double XL? Short?
That's a good line. Too big for me.
All right. Oh, look at this. Gabriel would like a few memories of working with Bob Vila, please. Which he did for 10 seasons. Vila was the host. You actually were on the very first episode,
Yeah.
very first Dorchester project,
Yep.
but you guys all worked with them.
Yeah, 2 years.
Now here's your opportunity. So good.
Well, there's two stories I'll tell you. Bob was on that first year, and he was with my father, Ron, and Bob was really full of energy and stuff like that. It made my father nervous, so my father he'd say, well, Ron, what's this? And my father would say, well, it's a boiler, Bob, and the suds would show up in his mouth. He'd get so nervous.
Your dad.
Yeah. And then they wheeled my father away, and in the second year they said, I'll give it to Richard. I was 20-something years old, early 20s. So in the very first scene I ever did with Bob, it was at the Oak Hill in Newton, this Bigelow house on the top of the hill. You talk about the worst project we ever had. It was 90% sill rock. We thought there'd be 10% sill rock, so we had to replace the entire on this big place. So we do a rehearsal, and then Russ says, okay, action. And then when the action started, Bob said, so everything I was going to say, Bob took. He said, now this is a TY, right? This is a TY, right, Richard? I said, exactly. Certainly. So in the very first scene I ever did with him, I must have said exactly, certainly, or you're right, Bob, like
right,
20
Bob.
times. That's right, Bob. So.
How times have changed.
Yeah, that's right. So I learned, and afterwards, I would never tell him everything in rehearsal.
Yeah.
And there was nothing better than watching his little pupils dilate. No one.
Calling him a line stealer?
Yeah, yeah, he was a line stealer.
He,
I,
in my experience.
that was going to be my story, because I had
Well,
a couple of experiences with him.
That
and it
Bigelow
was-
project's on the Insider Archives. They can
Yeah,
go back and
yeah.
watch all that. They can watch
Wow.
you,
Wow.
his eyes dilate,
Actually,
and you.
you'll see that scene and you'll laugh like I watched it with my father at home, and I said exactly. And when I go, so after the 27th time I said exactly, he and I are rolling laughing. So you
No,
were
it
saying?
was the same thing
Yeah.
with me. I did a couple of kitchen scenes with him. I remember we were talking about the cabinet and the finish and how you hang them, the type of screws and all this. And I went through the kitchen scene, and he had every line. I said, yeah, that's right, Bob.
That's right, Bob.
That's right, Bob. Yeah, that's
He was
right.
so
I think
smart.
Bruce Irving was in college or something when that went on, and it used to be a drinking game. Every time "That's right, Bob" was said, everyone at the table had to drink a beer.
All right. Well, anyway. See, now you guys know why I continue to ask the questions, and I never. Just
That's right, Kevin. That's right, Kevin.
That sounds good. I like
That's right,
that.
Kevin.
I like
That's
that.
right, Kevin.
All right, we've got a couple of questions. 3 different people, actually, same subject matter. Jess, Carol, Nana are all asking about roofs, and they're trying to figure out, is an asphalt shingle roof better than a metal roof? Is a metal better than an asphalt? And maybe we talk about the pluses and minuses of
Before we answer that, where in the country does it change from roof to roof?
I was just in the Midwest, and it's
Like-
all roof.
It's roof.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
In Minnesota,
Yeah,
Minnesota.
yeah.
It was all roof.
Mini Yoda.
It was all roof out there.
Sorry.
Sorry.
It's a roof question. Go.
It's free. It's like, it's live. Come on, deal with it.
I guess, first of all, it depends on where you live, what type of house you have, the pitch of your roof. All of those things mattered. A metal roof, a standing seam roof, this seems to be a roof that a lot of people like. It can be noisy when it rains. It doesn't blow off too easy if it's installed correctly. Asphalt roofing, fiberglass roofing is a great product today. They have really high wind shingles that really stick, and they're really heavy, so you don't have to worry about the lightweight shingles anymore blowing off.
That has to be a hurricane consideration, right?
Yeah, high winds you got to worry about. And then, you got to think about where you live in relationship to the ocean, because it rains this way, not this way, and you have to treat and install the roofing material completely different than you do if you lived in the city or in the country.
But, I mean, let's start with this, Tommy. All things being equal, cost is no consideration. Is a metal roof superior to a shingled roof?
No, I wouldn't say it
Really?
is. No, it really depends. And first of all, you're not going to put a metal roof on a lot of houses because it wouldn't go with the style
Okay.
of the house.
All right.
So that's important. But metal roofs will blow off just as as easy as a good asphalt roof.
Yep.
And they don't blow off easy if you get a high wind roof. It really comes down to, in some cases, the installation was defected or
Right.
left out.
But this idea that the shingles are sort of this layering of shingles, so they're discontinuous. You do have the opportunity for sideways driven rain, for going up and under. Ice dams, cause things to go backwards. None of that happens when you've got a metal roof, when you've got this continuous roof.
But you've seen the hurricane shots, right? When you see the hurricane coming, you see pieces of the little asphalt shingles flying away.
Yeah.
If it's that strong to peel asphalt shingles, it can actually lift that entire
You can see the whole metal roof will
Metal
just
roof
roll
just-
off.
Let's take the hurricane out of the equation, because
That's
an
no fun.
extreme. All right. Yeah,
No,
I guess it's my way of saying I'm getting a metal roof if I can afford it.
Because you like the look of it.
No, I like the fact that I've been fighting ice dams for 6 years, and no matter what you do,
This is one.
you got the water going backwards, and it just doesn't happen when you've got this continuous thing. I mean, I understand that there's some downside, but in terms of like bulletproof for water, that
Well,
sort
you
of
can
one
have it- you
sheet
can-
of metal from the very eave up to the ridge.
The thing is if you're getting ice dams and you're worrying about ice backing up, there's things that you do pre-build before you install the roof. The other thing is you don't have to put that standing seam roof all the way up the roof.
Correct.
You can put an apron across the bottom that's 36 inches high, and it could be a beautiful copper, it could be a color match to the house, and you can still do the asphalt or the fiberglass roof all the way.
No, I'm sorry, as I understand it, on the Insider membership, you can now, the database is so hot now, you can search by roofing
Yeah.
and find the
Products.
individual segments that we've shown through the years, so that'll help
We have
a lot of people.
yeah. I mean, we've shown segments how to install both. We've talked about the hurricane nailing patterns. We've even been to the facilities where they've tested these things and stuff like that. I mean, there's
We've
if
talked
you're not getting the answer you want out of us
Right.
right now, you
Well,
can
you've
go
Did
to-
you ever
about-
see him in the hurricane place with his mouth blown?
You talk about the shingle reveal also. A lot of shingles are 5 or 7 inch reveal. In high wind areas, you may drop it down an inch and double nail it a little bit below. Those are the kind of tricks that you learn on the Insider.
You guys have it's funny that you mentioned the hurricane thing. You guys have a favorite remote? So on the show, we do the projects where we're fixing stuff on the job site, and then we go and we do factory tours and stuff, and we call those remotes, or we go see an old house. And we all have different, occasions to do remotes, sod farm, those types of stories we call remotes. Do you guys have a favorite remote that you can think
For
of?
this whole house?
Either.
Either one?
Yeah.
I thought,
Not remote project, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
You remote visit. I'll start with mine. We got to, when we were in Washington DC working on that row house, we heard that the Lincoln Memorial was being restored.
Yeah.
And so we thought, it would be cool to see how you actually have a real good mason restore it.
Yeah.
And instead of just getting to tell the story, in fact, the National Park Service guy stopped us at the front edge of the all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We were just like, this is not going to be very good. And then the lady who was in charge of the Lincoln Memorial, who had like site control of that 30 square feet, said, you guys are from this old house, come on in. And we got to climb on the Lincoln Memorial.
don't tell anybody.
No, it was allowed. It was permitted. It had scaffolding, and it was going through like a once-in-a-lifetime restoration. And they actually let us, for me, that's like a high point of just like, when am I ever going to get a chance to lay hands on old Abe? And I took a little piece.
No.
That was one of my highlights.
I
Highlights for
felt
you guys?
lucky this year, not on Ask Remotes, but on House. I got to go to that Danbury marble quarry.
That was crazy.
That was crazy.
Down into the earth, down half a mile. They've been cutting stone out of it for 100 years.
Otherworldly.
Totally cool.
I expected
huge
the alien from that movie to jump out at some point and kill you.
And I got to go to the Motown Museum, which was totally fun. So
Sing us
just
something.
no,
we
don't.
can't.
I don't want to do it.
Don't
Try
sing
that.
again.
But we feel
please.
lucky. These remotes are lucky.
Going to see the sod farms was really just like Nirvana, you just want to take the bag of balls and start hitting them on it, but it was absolutely gorgeous.
Place your divots.
The grass guy.
And any of the ones where we were picking out trees and shrubs, you know me.
That's my pen you're hearing. That's me. That's my pen everyone's hearing. Okay.
Stop it.
Tommy,
Anything
that
for
one?
you, remotes?
Well,
Remember the time you got me coffee? Well, that was fun.
Oh, yeah, that was a good time, yeah. Actually, I kind of like the factory that I went to showing hurricane glass,
Oh, yeah.
where they shot 2x4 out of a gun, an air gun, and shot at 35 miles an hour right for the glass. And the hurricane glass would just break, but the 2x4 would not go through it. It was pretty cool to see that.
You talk about hurricanes. I just want to share one memory I had. We went down to post Hurricane Andrew in Miami, and we're going down to do the story about the windows and the lanais, everyone and it's during a break that I'm walking just in the neighborhood, and I'm just walking along. I look down, and I see a big clump of mud in the gutter, and I look, and I just see a whole stack of pictures, like Polaroids and pictures. And I realized that that's what you lose in these hurricanes. It's not, I said, this will never reconnect with whoever had them. And it sort of hit me that that's the part you don't think about. You hear about
Memories.
people, all the memories
all
that
the
you
memories.
just can't replace.
Exactly. The house and things can be replaced.
Yeah, that's a good one. All right, so the questions are rolling in. Let me just remind you guys what we're doing. Facebook Live for TOH Insiders. This one's open to the public. That's why we've got all these great questions here flying in. We're going to be doing these regularly, but in the future, we're going to be doing them for folks who are insiders.
You and Roger are doing the next one.
No, you and Richard are doing the next one, next Thursday.
I threw my back
There are a
up.
lot of blanks, Tom, so I just filled you in.
I just threw my blank.
If you become an insider, however, you're going to get access to these guys and their knowledge, but also those stories that they're talking about, those archives, those old episodes of This Old House. So many of them are now available to insiders. Every episode of Ask. So when we do the hurricane glass testing and we talk about how to put the roofs down, you've got access to all that stuff. Every article ever written, you've got that. There are discounts. You can get 10, 20% off stuff that you can buy through the insider. You get the T-shirt if you sign up. And if you want to sign up, it's a 30-day trial. And you go to thisoldhouse.com/learn.
Learn.
Learn, right? /learn. Look, it's right there.
I got a roofing question for you.
Uh-oh.
Slate roofs, thing of the past, or what about the new material they've come out with to replace them?
Well, slate roofs are not a thing of the past. They're very, very expensive. The thing about a slate roof, it'll last forever until you have a problem, and then once you start walking on them, you actually have to repair more slates than you originally were planning on replacing because you crack them when you step on them. So you got to be real careful. But there are artisans out there that can do it, and they do it right. They do have a lot of imitation slate now that look really great. I remember quite a few years ago in my brother's house when he lost his house in a fire and we did his project. One of the roofing materials that we used was an imitation slate roof made of reclaimed rubber.
Yeah.
And it has to be 15, 20 years now, and that roof still looks brand new.
Great.
I love you talking about that, where the local historical society came by.
Oh, yeah.
And they were all saying, well, at least you use slate. And you go, no, they didn't. No, we didn't.
We use it in Carlisle on their roof, a
Yeah.
faux slate. Dickie's house is on the Insider Archives. Carlisle's on the Insider Archives.
Yeah.
You go back and look at all those
Yeah.
things. All right, back to the questions. All right, Dennis. Hello, Dennis. Dennis writes, I have a wood shop, lucky you. He's got all benchtop tools right now, and he's starting to upgrade to some floor tools. That's a nice upgrade. I'm not even there yet. I'd love to be there. Next on his list is either a bandsaw or a drill press. Which one should he buy first? And keep in mind, he likes making pens and shelves, shop jigs, small cabinets is sort of his list of current projects. So Dennis wants to know, bandsaw or drill press first?
Well, that's a tough one. I mean, you can do an awful lot with a bandsaw. A drill is, you can do things with sanding and drilling and mortising and stuff like that. It really depends on your priority. Do you like to take wood and resaw it? A bandsaw will allow you to do all that kind of stuff. Take a thicker piece of wood, run strips out of it, run them on a planer, thin them down, drum sanders, all that kind of stuff. But a bandsaw, I would probably go with the bandsaw first.
You had a pretty
I'm-
thick, you had a nice shop in the barn.
Yeah, I'm the king of the cutaway. So my bandsaw is king because it's interesting taking a brass or bronze piece or a metal piece and using this wood bandsaw and watching the sparks fly. But
Yeah.
it's the only way I can explain some of these mechanical products we try to show. in the
Just
show.
so you know,
Legendary for his cutaways.
just
Yeah,
just
they're
so
so good.
he probably doesn't know, but you can get a bandsaw blade for cutting
You know,
different
that
metals,
takes time,
steels,
Tony. That takes
stainless,
time. That
brass,
takes time,
copper.
Time. So
Do you have like a turf shop?
Yeah.
What's a landscaper's dream shop look like?
You know, it has
Like a
lot of
mower museum?
chainsaws in it.
Chainsaws? and
How do you
like-
think he gets that saw to go around
Yeah,
the curved rod?
blades.
Yeah,
All right.
professional secret. Only get it on the inside is.
Adamo. Do I have that right? Adamo? Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Adamo has a rancher. I'm assuming he means a ranch, but he calls it a rancher, with a 7-year-old oil-fired boiler, and he is supplying copper radiant floor heat in a concrete slab.
wow,
And
what'd the winner get?
his in-slab system is 50-plus years old. Uh-oh. Cue the scary music.
Well, let me.
Richard, this one's for you, pal. All right, so he says, what can I do to prepare for its eventual demise? At least you've admitted it's about to go. And what is the best system to transition to?
When you have copper in concrete, it was a function of the mix of the copper in the old days. They used a lot of fly ash, which was highly acidic, and it would slowly pit corrode the copper. Having said that, there's still copper systems that are in there that are working fine. It really was a question of the chemistry of the concrete. The other thing is, if the system had mild temperature water, if the system had primitive controlling where it had a hot boiler on and off, those systems have failed by now because the expansion contraction is such. We've had a couple of things happen. In our local area of Brockton, Massachusetts, there was a famous builder like Levitt in Long Island, but this guy named Campanelli, and he used radiant in every one of these post-war houses.
Levittown.
Levittown
The one everyone knows,
in Long
Levittown,
Island.
right.
And so we've actually gone and done a job where we cut out the entire concrete floor. They wanted it so bad to live again with radiant. where it went back in with insulation, with wire mesh, put the tubing down, and re-pour a whole concrete floor on the ranch house because this woman said, I will not live without radiant. Now, that's pretty drastic. Nowadays, they make all kinds of radiant substrate materials you can put onto an existing floor. Now, it means you're going to have to raise the grade by probably an inch to get radiant into it, but it means in that top surface, it means at the doors, you'd have to cut back the doors, the dishwasher may have to come up the stair, the first stair hall step will be off by an inch, but you can put radiant back in.
Yeah.
But his question about eventual demise, is that a good assumption?
Yeah.
Or is it,
Yeah.
is there something to be said that he's lasted 50, he'll last 60?
I'd be foolish to think it's not going to fail
Yeah, okay.
in
All right, so
what's left of my lifetime.
So he's, well,
God willing, you should change soon.
I mean, he doesn't have to go. He doesn't have to go to radiant, although I would say,
Yeah.
once you've lived in a house with radiant heat, you really don't want to go anywhere.
He's the best radiant salesman ever in
Ever.
the history of the
he
planet.
has radiant heat underneath his stone countertops in the kitchen.
Wait, and his driveway is radiant heat. It's
So is
snow
the
melt.
sidewalk. No, he's upset that the sidewalk isn't.
I have it on
The other day, he left the butter on the countertop.
I
You
have
should
it on
see
the
that.
wall of my showers, behind my toilet,
Too much information.
on the
TMI.
floor.
TMI pal.
Just trying to straighten you out.
He got like physically angry with me when I refused to put radiant. I was doing the kitchen renovation and I wouldn't put it underneath the.
Because you're cheap.
Who puts radiant underneath their countertops?
You know how many people? You know how many people complain? You know how many people complain about the draft in their kitchen when they're standing at the sink and
know
they
how many
can't
people-
understand why their feet are
Do you know how
cold?
many people who don't complain about that? Can anyone here help me out? Can we do a vote?
Is this
Anyone
on?
here-
Is this
on? How many people would go the extra mile and put radiant underneath their countertops? Raise your hand.
But he's
Nobody.
You won't because it's an
Nobody.
extra gallon of gas.
No, I'm just saying it's excessive anyway.
Oh
I
my
was sitting there
God.
the other day and I look and he's pecking away at his iPhone and I said, what are you doing? Turning on the heat in the driveway.
I don't want to have to come home to snow.
Anyway.
Here you go, the good
So
soil.
the answer is, it will fail. You could go any number of ways to do it. By now, if the house doesn't have air conditioning, you may want to abandon the radiant, and you could go with small duct heating and air conditioning up in the attic of the ranch and downfeed it. You could do
Baseboard heat.
baseboard heat all the way around. There's all kinds of ways. The other thing is the new generation of split type. It reads like the who's who of Japanese manufacturing. Mitsubishi, Sanyo, LG, Hitachi. These are these units that could have one on each end or 2 or 3 units inside of a building. So all kinds of choices now. But radiant is the best heat ever.
Japanese has a who-who?
Drag the snow all
Japanese
over
has
to
a
his
who's who?
driveway and dump it in
It's like the
driveway.
who's who of Japanese manufacturing.
Oh, I didn't know.
Let me
I
go
didn't know.
slower for you.
I didn't know they had a who's who.
Mitsubishi,
Hey, there's other people at the
Hey, we're
table.
talking here.
Mitsubishi,
Live. You're live.
We're talking.
LG,
You're live. Bobby's got a question.
Bobby.
Thank you.
Is this
Back
my
to
brother?
reality. Lilacs, Raja.
Yep.
Raja, it's about lilacs. His lilacs get a white coating on some of the leaves during the summer, and he wants to know how to get rid of them. Get rid of that.
Penicillin.
Powdery mildew. Powdery mildew. Powdery
Does it hurt
mildew.
when you touch it?
Is it powdery mildew is the name of the disease. It's not really a disease. It's little aphids eating away, and their excrement falls on the seed, on the leaves, and turns it that color, and eventually.
All that white stuff is just poop?
Boom. Yep. So you got
How do you get rid of it?
Well, the aphids, you can actually take
Seems
a
like the
high-pressure
plumbing story,
hose
isn't it?
and blow them off.
Huh.
Certain ways you can treat it with chemical to take care of it.
I like the chemical out.
I don't.
Spray?
No.
I like the high pressure hose.
Wash 'em off.
Wash them off, you go out and you clean your lilacs? Do you think Bobby wants to hear he's got to scrub his lilacs?
No, but truth is reality.
All right. So if you're watching, you are watching us live on Facebook as part of the This Old House Insiders. And we're taking you guys' questions. Now, going forward, now everyone can watch this, but going forward, only insiders can watch. So I'm going to remind folks one more time. If you become an insider, you're going to have access to these guys and all of their knowledge. It's pretty impressive that they can talk about lilacs and roofing and
Whatever I talk
hosting,
about. Yeah,
whatever
hosting,
you talk
yeah.
about.
That must have killed you.
You look good. You've been sick.
You're going to get access to these guys. You're going to get access to these guys, which the value of which is going down very quickly now that you've seen. But you'll also get a wonderful access to archives. So 20 plus years of This Old House, all the seasons of Ask This Old House, on the website. You can watch those. Every article ever written for the magazine. You can try a 30-day trial right now. You're going to get a Silver Brothers T-shirt in your
They only get the
requested
T-shirt for
size.
30 days? They have to send it back?
Yes.
Clean. I just remember one thing about the lilacs.
Sorry, lilac sale. Hello?
There's a
I'm about to close the deal here.
There's something you can use that isn't really a chemical. It's called dormant
diaper.
oil. It's a really refined oil. And
What is it called?
Dormant oil.
Dormant oil.
You spray it on the plant when it's dormant, and it smothers the little insects to death.
Bobby has already gone outside
Bobby's
and
gone.
is scrubbing his lilacs. It's a little late for you,
He's
Bobby.
buffing his
And
lilacs.
Tommy will on next week, and the week
Yes,
after,
yes.
and the week after.
Bobby, when you're done scrubbing the lilacs, come back next week. These two clowns are going to be on doing this again next Thursday, 9 a.m. And unfortunately, you're not going to be able to watch unless you become an insider. I become a PBS.
You are.
I think I'm busy.
Listen,
Busy being here.
thisoldhouse.com/learn, not // learn. Okay. Questions coming up. Dave. Oh my God, this one's going to be a absolute
It's me,
rabbit hole.
Dave. No,
What
it's
are
me,
your
Dave.
thoughts on crawl spaces and attic encapsulation, especially with soffit and ridge venting, with regards to spray foam on the roof sheathing, and just to make it more esoteric, particularly in the southeast?
Let's answer that. Let's answer this as a tweet in 140 characters.
We have to unpack
Go.
so much stuff. Let me break this down before
Go.
we even try to do this. Let me break this down. Let's talk about the insulating the attic ceiling, the underside of the roof. Help us understand why we do that and what the benefits are.
What the benefit is, you now, if you have any heating or cooling equipment in that attic, it now becomes part of the conditioned space of the house. It's also
Good thing.
when you, yes, it actually saves you money. The other thing is that it now makes the roof what is called a hot roof. And so you're not venting the underside of the shingles. It all becomes part of the insulation. It's much more efficient. It also eliminates, in our climate up here, it eliminates any ice dams, backups, all of those kind of issues. Eliminates the need for soffit vents and gable vents and ridge vents. So you want to make sure that all of those get insulated and covered over. It makes a big difference. And I guess the big thing is efficiency. It's a huge difference in energy efficiency, living in the house more comfortably, both air conditioning and heating.
Only in America do we put the heating and cooling system outside the building. It's in the summer, it's in a hellacious place. It could be 125 degrees in there, and you're trying to turn it into 35 to 40 degrees.
They insulate the attic floor.
And the winter it's just worse. And to Tommy's point, you put that heat up there, it melts parts of the roof, and all of a sudden you get ice dams like crazy. So insulate insulate the hat.
In his case, he's in the southeast, so the equation's
Cooling,
reversed.
yeah.
But
It's
it's just as
reversed.
bad,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
the air conditioning is now trying to work outside.
right,
And
right,
not only, so this is interesting. Let's just assume he's talking about the attic with the air conditioning equipment. I mean, it's hot in the southeast.
Yeah.
How hot is it in his attic?
It's probably
Well-
150.
So now you've put the thing that's supposed to make cold
Right.
in a space that's already 150.
It's why some guys add extra tonnage, because they have to offset the fact that the ductwork
It's
is
so
going to be
hot.
smoking hot every time you come on to try and cool it.
The other thing that you want to think
climbing
about,
a hill every time.
the other thing you want to think about is the color of the shingle or the color of the roofing that you choose. The darker the roof, the hotter the attic. A dark roof over a light roof can make a difference of 25 to 35% more heat in the attic.
That's why solar panels are black.
Because they suck up the heat.
Also, the way of planting shade trees. Trees that drop their leaves in the winter, let the sun through, that's a great time to heat the roof, but in the summertime, spring, the leaves come out and actually natural shading occurs. It
Right.
helps lower the temperature.
That's
All
right.
the stuff that the prairie architects knew so well that we forgot when we did subdivisions in America.
Yeah.
Every tree down.
All right, let me do one more question, and then we're going to wrap it up because we're coming close to the top of the hour. This is from Rob. Rob, thank you for sending your question in. He has a house built in the 60s, and it has plaster ceilings. And I hope they're plaster as opposed to drywall. I think he
It could
probably
be
knows
drywall.
these. It could be, but he's
Depends on where he is. Where's he from?
He's from the internet.
Oh,
Yeah. The
Yeah.
the interweb.
Yeah, these are from the internet that we're connected to. and
Okay,
There's several.
yeah.
He's out there. Hi, Rob.
Anyway, he has plaster ceilings, and they keep cracking in the same spots every year or so. And these are long, straight cracks. He's assuming it is a seam. So he wants to know what he can do or what product he can use to patch the cracks and to prevent them from cracking again.
Expansion.
If it's down the center of the building where there's a wall that runs up to the middle of the building and it cracks right along that partition in the center, and that's what they call truss lift. And when the different changes of temperature occur, the roof actually picks up like that and lifts and pulls the framing up away from the top plate and pulls the wallboard with it, and it cracks. And what happens there is you never nail your wallboard close to that wall. There's what they call an F channel that goes in, and the wallboard slips into that F channel, and you don't nail the wallboard until it's 16 to 18 inches away from the wall. That way, when the wall lifts up, the wallboard will actually bend into that F channel, and it will never crack again.
So, but this house is built. He's
Well,
got this recurring problem.
yeah, so
He wants to dress it up, it sounds like.
So what you do in a case like that, if you let me finish the story, Sonny, you
Well,
get
just-
We only got
moving you
we only
along.
got a few minutes
If
left
you
there,
get up
Dad.
I
into-
mean, the internet's big, but it's not that big.
if you go up into the attic along that petition, that main petition, and if it's a 2x4, you take a 2x6 and you put a little bit of construction adhesive on each end of the 2x6 and you cut it between each joist, you push it down tight, and that will glue the wallboard that's next to the wall in place. So now when the truss lifts on each side, the wallboard will stay down tight to the wall.
Rob, you become an insider. We'll get you the drawing. I could use a truss
And you
lift.
can come back next week when these two there, and you can ask the question again and see if you get a different answer. I'm just busting your chops.
Yeah, I know. Well, you're good at that.
I'm just busting your chops. All right, so exciting, right? It's our first
Yeah.
Facebook Live.
Yeah.
Did you guys like it?
It was good for me.
Enjoy it? We got to reminisce. We got to reminisce on some of the favorite projects.
Wake 'em up, will you? Wake
You
'em
guys have
up.
been at it for a long time. You got a lot of memories and things to talk about.
Yeah, it's been a
And
good
that's
one.
I've forgotten a lot.
plenty out of you.
Somebody want to get that phone?
All right, so Facebook Live for insiders. Thank you for joining us. Let me tell you again what you're watching. You're watching this live Q&A, and you're going to be able to watch it again, but only going forward now. You're only going to get to watch it if you become an insider, and if you do, there's a lot of great things. You're going to get access to our archives, which is 20-plus years of the shows for This Old House. You can go all the way back and look at some amazing stuff. You can watch Bob Vila steal all of your lines.
Yeah, exactly.
He wasn't the only one.
You're also going to get every season of Ask This Old House in the archives. You'll be able to search.
Search.
So if you have that question about the asphalt roof that you didn't get an answer today, you can literally dig into the stories, and Tommy will show you how to put one on. He'll take you to the testing facilities. You can watch all that stuff. If there's the radiant heat, we've done that story a million times.
Truss lift, if you want a truss lift.
The questions about your lilacs and the grass and all the stuff that we've covered, it's all out there. You'll also get every article we've ever written on the magazine. If you try it now, 30-day trial, anyone who joins gets the T-shirt, but you can even do the 30-day trial.
But they have to
and get the
return it after
t-shirt.
30 days.
Stop with the
Stop
return.
with
You're confusing the people. You get the Silver Brothers T-shirt worn by Tommy's guys on the job site, and remind you that we're going to come back. We're going to do several of these next week as these guys. Thank you very
until
much.
then.
So until then, I am signing off as Kevin O'Connor
I'm Roger Cook.
Richard Trethewey.
Tom Silva.
for Facebook Live for Insiders. Thank you guys for joining us.
What's this mean?
Bye-bye.
It means you're crazy.
You're crazy.
You're crazy.